Some people might have a little rock and roll pneumonia.
You wanted the best, you got the best from my home studio on Long Island, New York. Welcome to Ian Scotto Rocks. I am your host, Ian Scotto, and here's what's going on. Joe Perry and Steven Tyler, of Aerosmith, of course, will be performing, if you're watching this the day it launches, tomorrow at the MTV VMAs. And it's a weird thing. It's like the MTV VMAs airing on CBS. There's too many conglomerates. So I don't know. Is it airing on CBS and MTV? I don't know. I have not paid attention to MTV, much like all of you probably, for many, many years. I grew up on it, but as we all know, they don't play music anymore. And that's why it's like a huge surprise that they're doing something to honor Ozzy Osbourne. Would have been cool if they did something for Ozzy while he was alive, but this is cool nonetheless to see the two members everyone knows, of course, from Aerosmith. But not only that, Nuno Bettencourt. I mean, when is the last time Nuno Bettencourt has been honored as one of the great shredders by like a mainstream institution in this country? You guys may remember he played guitar for Rihanna when she did the halftime show a few years back for the Super Bowl, but he was just a guy on guitar, and if you knew who Nuno Bettencourt is, you know, you were like, oh, that's Nuno. But there was no acknowledgement of him or anything. So that's pretty cool that they're doing this. And it's a surprise, you know, and I am stoked to see these guys still doing what they're doing again, because as you remember, I mean, if you watch this channel, you know it's pretty much been a year ago to the day that Aerosmith went on Instagram and they announced their retirement from touring. And probably no one was more bummed out about this than myself. I'll tell you why, too. I've seen Aerosmith a number of times, but the last time I saw them was 2019 in Massachusetts, and I was blown away. Just look at those pictures. That's how close I was for that show. And I got those seats for a relatively good deal, and that was because of the fact that they were playing, I think it was 4 nights at the Mass Mutual Center. So, you know, it wasn't as in demand if they just did one night and it was all spread out. I was able to do a weeknight or a Sunday, I believe, so it was less in demand than the weekend shows. But, man, Aerosmith is a band that give it their all night after night. And it's like there is no time where you saw Aerosmith in their prime because they were always phenomenal. Other than the era early on where they were all having drug issues, whether you saw Aerosmith during the Pump Tour or if you saw them during Get a Grip or just more recently, they put on a phenomenal show. And you have to hand it to them because especially Steven Tyler, he would take days off because he insisted on doing it all live. He was not playing to tracks. Unlike some people, you know, not going to mention any names. But yeah, he insists on sounding his best. So then you may remember after the pandemic and all that, Aerosmith announces Peace Out, one last tour with the Black Crowes. And I was like, I have to go to this. I have to see Aerosmith. Aerosmith does 3 shows, you may remember. I know they did Philadelphia. They did another date. And then what turned out to be the last Aerosmith show to date was right by me in Elmont at the UBS Arena. And you're probably thinking you must have gone to that, right? Well, money was a little tight for me at the time. And I also just don't have the money to go crazy on tickets, you know. And ticket prices have gotten crazy. We've discussed this many times on the channel. I also insisted on being on the floor, though, because I've seen Aerosmith, as I said, several times. And if you're way in the back, it is an older crowd, and they just want to sit down and enjoy the show. It's not like it is in Mexico or Europe where the whole crowd is into it. So I wanted to be on the floor. And normally I do the tactic, which I've spoken about on the channel, of waiting until the very last minute to get tickets, which pays off about 90% of the time. And you will get a great deal on StubHub or one of the resellers or even Ticketmaster if they release tickets at the very last moment. So I was doing that. Tickets were still high. I was going to go solo, which my friend Steve, who goes with me to a lot of shows, couldn't go. And they were planning on doing Madison Square Garden sometime down the line and some other dates. So I said, you know what? I'm going to miss this show, but I'll make sure I see this tour at a just more convenient time. As we all know, Steven had an injury at that show, and that turned out to be the very last Aerosmith show to date. So if you were there, it was historic. And they postponed the Peace Out tour and all those dates. And once again, to their credit, Steven Tyler was like, I can't perform at that level, so we're tapping out from here. Now, they're not lying at this point because they announced stopping touring, and they have not toured since. But, and I've reported on this, Steven Tyler did do a couple of Janie's Fund dates where he, or Janie's Foundation, whatever it's called, but, you know, for his charity. And these were private events where he just did a couple of songs with some surprise guests. More recently, he did one where Joe Perry got up on stage. Then, as you may remember, at the big Back to the Beginning event, which of course turned out to be the final Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne performance, Steven Tyler got up on stage, and unlike pretty much everybody there, as far as I saw, I didn't watch the whole thing because it was hours long. He didn't do an Ozzy song. He didn't do a Black Sabbath song. He did Walk This Way and A Whole Lot of Love, which is kind of weird because it's like, what does Led Zeppelin have to do with Black Sabbath? If anything, people kind of will argue who was the better band and who started metal. But it's Steven Tyler. He could do what he wants. And he sounded absolutely phenomenal, which had the speculation going of, are they going to get back together and perform once again as Aerosmith? Now, earlier this week, I saw that MTV and the VMAs put up this post, which they had the people who were going to be at the VMAs hosting and presenting, passing around the iconic Moon Man. And I saw this part where they pass it to Steven Tyler. All right, first of all, him hitting that note, I don't care how many takes it took for him to get that right. Steven Tyler sounds awesome, which proves this is not an age issue. He just insists on giving it his all, but I mean, it sounds like classic Steven Tyler to me. He is a freak of nature the way he could pull off this stuff. But the interesting thing to me was no one really reported on this. It didn't get a whole lot of traction. I would have done something for the channel, but I'm just limited on time. And I was wondering, is Steven Tyler just presenting an award, or are Aerosmith going to be performing? And no one was really talking about this. And the thing that made me think maybe Aerosmith was performing is that Aerosmith had it on their Instagram. And they don't tend to promote things if it's just one member of the band doing something. They don't really promote on Aerosmith's Instagram when Joe Perry is out doing dates or Steven Tyler's doing something solo. You know, they certainly didn't promote Steven Tyler doing his stuff on American Idol because the band was not happy about that, if you remember. They felt like American Idol and all that became his priority, and they were talking about, as ridiculous as it would be, replacing Steven Tyler and Aerosmith at the time, which you will never replace Steven Tyler. Let's be honest. Aerosmith could never go over with another singer. So, of course, that never happened. But the point being, they really only promote things when it's a collective. So yesterday, at the time that I'm recording this video, the VMAs did make an announcement that they will be honoring Ozzy Osbourne tomorrow night, Sunday night, with performances once again by Nuno Bettencourt, Steven Tyler, and Joe Perry, and others. Which is great. I wonder if they'll do an Ozzy song, a Black Sabbath song, maybe also an Aerosmith song. It sounds like when Steven Tyler was hitting those high notes, it was a little bit of I don't want to miss a thing, like a take on that a little bit. So maybe one of their hits. But they should have Aerosmith at events like these, because when I grew up watching MTV, Aerosmith was in heavy rotation. And now MTV has nothing to do with rock music. So I think maybe they're trying to gain back some of that older audience with something like this. And it'll be cool to see whatever they do. My only question is, why not have all of Aerosmith there? I mean, I feel like Steven Tyler and Joe Perry are the hardest people in that band to get to do something. How hard could it have been to get the other three members? Because when you think of it, So Joey Kramer, they did a bunch of shows without, and they had his drum tech on stage. That includes when I saw them the last time. And the whole excuse was he didn't have the stamina to play a full show. Well, we've seen Joey Kramer play drums not too long ago, and he's played with Aerosmith shows here and there when they were in Vegas. There's no way he can't do one or two songs for an MTV event, so why can't he be there? As far as I know, Brad Whitford is doing well, and I'm sure he'd show up if he was invited. Tom Hamilton is an interesting case because he is suffering from a health condition where I didn't realize how bad it was until he recently did an appearance on Eddie Trunk. I mean, he is having a lot of trouble communicating. But as far as I know, he's still able to go up there and play. So, I mean, why not have Aerosmith go up there and do a performance as a full band, a couple of songs? The big question mark was really, could Steven Tyler do it? So that would be cool to see, but I'm not complaining. Now, for people wondering, does this mean they're going to tour again? Does this mean we're going to see more Aerosmith performances now that we've seen Steven Tyler up on stage for what is going to be a fourth time tomorrow since them announcing their retirement? As you may have seen, Matt Sorum, who's been a part of these Steven Tyler performances, said, look, Steven Tyler is going to do one-off performances here and there, but that is far less demanding on his vocals than doing a full tour, doing full shows. So don't expect to see that. It's not happening, and he's in close contact with Steven Tyler, and I get that. You know, he probably can sound amazing for one or two songs, but to go out there night after night and to do hours upon hours, and I know people say, but maybe they could do a shorter set. I just don't see Aerosmith doing that. So I don't expect to see a tour. They certainly don't owe it to us, but it'll be cool to see these performances here and there. And you know what? For people, many of you discovered me on the last video, which I greatly appreciate, and were saying people aren't going to tours because they're too expensive. Look, it depends on the band. And also the age thing, I don't care what age Steven Tyler is, and I don't even care what they're demanding for concert tickets. If Aerosmith were to go out there on the road again, they will sell out all the venues they go to. They will. Because there's the demand for Aerosmith that isn't there for other bands, and Steven Tyler has not lost it, but he insists on being his best, and you have to respect that. So I'm wondering, guys, are you going to be watching this performance? I don't know if I'm going to tune into MTV Live because I'm sure the rest of the show is not going to have anything that's of interest to me. And that's not to say that I'm not into new music. You know, I've talked about the new Turnstile album, which is absolutely phenomenal. Deftones just put out a new album that I love, but, you know, that's not a newer band. But there are newer bands doing things that I like, not even just in the rock space. I love Leah Kate, as you've heard me say, but, like, this is not going to be honored by MTV, right? So I'm not going to sit through whatever it is, 2-hour, 3-hour show just for whatever Aerosmith does. And I don't even know how long they're going to be performing, what they're going to be performing. And we all know I could go right here on YouTube the next day or a few hours later and see what it is they do. So I'm just excited to see what Aerosmith does in particular. Let me know what you guys think. I really appreciate all the new subscribers. I want to be doing this full time again, and really just be doing content creation full time. But I'd like to be doing this channel full time, but I can't do that without your help. So be sure to subscribe. There's a new feature on YouTube. If you look below, there's a button that says hype, which apparently will expose the video to a much larger audience if enough of you click it. So I would greatly appreciate it if you hit that hype button below, which is brand new and could really get this video out to a larger number of people who it appeals to. If you're feeling extra generous, you can click the thanks button. That'll donate directly to us at the channel to keep this going. And we have a merch store with some really cool shirts and mugs. If you want to see some more rock news, click right here, and we'll see you on the next video right here on Ian Scotto Rocks.